Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's been the reality of the 2022 midterms, but I prefer not to dwell on the negative, but to focus on the positive, the good. A lot of people are frustrated with the results. Here's an analogy. As a YouTuber, when you're reading the YouTube comments, there could be 100 positive comments, and then there's one negative comment, which will affect you a whole lot more than the 100 positive. It's a psychological phenomenon, and so people are focusing so much on the negative. But what about the positive? The night started off incredible. The state of Florida, as predicted, as we've been reporting for a while, is no longer a purple state. It's no longer a swing state. The state of Florida is ruby red. That beautiful dark red color, that's a natural leftist propellant. It may not have been the wider victory, but what happened in Florida is historic, game-changing moving forward. To pretend like all is lost would be ridiculous. There's a lot of good. There's a foundation to work with. That is exactly what we're going to focus on, and we are going to start in the great state of Florida. Let's keep the ball rolling. Let me show you guys what's going on. Let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I want you to let this sink in. Here's a comparison between the state of Florida and the state of California. What do you notice? We know California as a Democrat stronghold, as a place where Republicans don't even bother going. Donald Trump during a presidential run isn't doing major campaign stops in California because California is going to vote Democrat no matter what, at least on the state level. Do Republicans win specific counties, specific congressional districts? Sure, but the state at large, it's not even close. Florida, however, has been one of the most competitive swing states in recent American history. It is the premier battleground state, and it's a place where hundreds of millions of dollars on both sides is usually spent. Well, no longer is that the case. We covered this a couple weeks before the election. Democrats were pulling money out of Florida. They were giving up, and clearly with good reason. With 99% of the votes reporting, Ron DeSantis beat Charlie Crist by nearly 20 points. An absolute bloodbath. Not even close. And of course, this is a tough pill for Democrats to swallow. You could tell by the reporting.
Florida, once a perennial swing state, it turned blue for Obama twice, then red for Trump twice. Now it appears solid red, thanks in part to a huge effort in voter registration on the Republican side and the powerful Latino vote leaning further and further red. Even the Democratic stronghold of Miami-Dade County turned red for the first time in 20 years.
As somebody who's been inside these kinds of campaigns, what has struck you as legitimately unpredictable in tonight's results?
Well, first of all, the divergence between Florida, which, can't sugarcoat a disaster for the Democrats.
But here in Florida, which had been the premier swing state, even Jim DeFede of CBS 4 here, the local powerhouse political reporter, says this is no longer a swing state. Florida is red.
Can we just talk about Florida, because we really haven't had a chance to do that. I was texting with a source in Florida, political source, who pointed out to me that this will be the first time since Reconstruction that Florida won't have any Democrats in statewide office, period.
Pretty big storyline developing there. By the way, I got to point out that once we started digesting our food and digesting the day, we realized that on that day-long trip, we spoke to dozens of people up and down the coast of Florida, all in precincts, by the way, that voted for President Biden in 2020. But to our surprise, we did not run into a supporter of Ron DeSantis' Democratic opponent. That would be Charlie Crist.
There's this larger narrative out there that Democrats somehow won. I mean, did they manage to mitigate damage in a certain way? Honestly, I don't even think they did anything. It was more so just Republicans underperforming in key races and key places. But Democrats are celebrating it not being as bad as it could have been. That's not a win. Democrats didn't get any real wins. Maybe Pennsylvania, you could argue, is a win, but I'm not really seeing it. Electing John Fetterman to the Senate doesn't really seem like a major win to me. But what's going on in Florida, friends, that's a win. That's a massive W. That's a colossal W. And what I keep repeating, the most important thing with Florida is that it changes the electoral landscape for presidential elections. This state no longer exists for Democrats. Are they going to run some grifter campaigns like they do with Robert Francis in Texas? Sure. Some little Democrat money laundering schemes to pull donations from out-of-state funders who think that they stand a chance in flipping the state? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, even even as the Democrat media admits, Florida is a Republican state. This opens the door for the GOP to start changing their strategy, to start targeting the working class in places where they're struggling, to start actually finding some real talent, some real strong candidates to run great campaigns in other states. Because what I think people are missing here, and what I think people really need to focus on, is the model that Florida is creating. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to replicate that in other states. We're talking about massive success. The goal should be to find more Ron DeSantis type candidates. The goal should be to model Republican messaging around what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida. You know, stuff like this.
We have embraced freedom. We have maintained law and order. We have protected the rights of parents, and we reject woke ideology. We fight the woke in the legislature. We fight the woke in the schools. We fight the woke in the corporations. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke chose to die.
A great little edit from the Daily Wire, but that right there is the model. That is what has Democrats petrified, and that is what must be harnessed. I mean, these results were incredible. I mean, just take a look. Ron DeSantis won Miami-Dade County by 11.3%. He won Hillsborough County by nearly 10, and Pinellas County by a similar margin. 10-point Republican leads in major metropolitan Democrat areas. A Republican winning Miami-Dade, which has been historically Democrat, a 70% Hispanic population in this county, which has totally flipped and ditched the Dems. You know, if Republicans performed a little bit better in Georgia and a little bit better in the Rust Belt, the story wouldn't be doom and gloom. Everybody would be focusing on Florida. Everyone would be talking about how historic and incredible it is. But instead, because the results weren't great elsewhere, it's almost as if people forgot that something truly historic and incredible is happening. You can't lose sight of the positive. If there were more candidates like Ron DeSantis running in these elections, it would have been a different outcome. You think John Fetterman could take on someone on Ron DeSantis' level? Absolutely not. Neither can Raphael Warnock. But apparently someone like John Fetterman can take on someone like Mehmet Oz. No problem. Of course, there's other factors at play, like the fact that the state of Florida knows how to run an election properly, and they've passed a bunch of measures and laws. Of course, that plays a role. I'm purposely being vague here, but you guys get the point. But at the end of the day, regardless of any of that, what's important here and what should be celebrated is the Ron DeSantis model. It's how you win state politics with good, strong leadership. There's a reason why Lee Zeldin did amazing and why Republicans overperformed in New York. There's a reason why Republicans are doing great in Nevada and why Kari Lake is on track to possibly win in Arizona. Of course, that can change at any moment here, and we're probably not going to know for a week. But the point is, there's a reason why specific candidates overperformed and others underperformed. It's a question of messaging, relatability, and competence. And I prefer to stick to the positive, flipping Miami-Dade County and the Tampa area red, and Ron DeSantis winning statewide by 20 points, Republicans basically across the board winning every major election. I think that should be the story and that should be the focus. Take the hard lessons and focus on what works. Clearly, what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida is working to tremendous effect. Enough sulking, enough whining, enough excuses. The problem isn't Trump or any other distractions. The problem is a lack of talent. And all I know in the end is that the great state of Florida just got that much greater. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.